lead us in prayer, and please all be upstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Inoi tatou. Almighty God, creator of the universe, we acknowledge that you are wholly good and wholly loving. You love justice and righteousness, and you ask us to join you in bringing that same justice and righteousness to your world. Help us today in seeing this outworked in our community. We give thanks for our community leaders here today. Thank you for their desire to represent and serve the people of this region, to build healthy and resilient communities for all people. Help us to never forget the privilege it is to lead and to serve. May we be willing to lay down self-interest for the interests of others, as you call us to do. Your word tells us that those who listen to advice would be considered wise, and that you give wisdom generously to all who ask for it. Today we ask for wisdom. As the business of council is discussed, decisions made, may those here today listen well to the advice that is offered. May they ask and receive wisdom from you in all their deliberations. We live in a time and a place where there are fewer and fewer examples of healthy disagreement, where it is easier to disconnect than it is to engage with those we see as different. We pray for your grace and your peace to be in this place, so all matters can be discussed and debated in an open and respectful manner. May all voices be heard and understood, all perspectives may be considered, and especially those of the voices that are seldom heard. May there be unity even where there is diversity. May the decisions made here today, throughout this year, honour you, be free from personal interest, be made with transparency and integrity for the benefit of all, and especially the vulnerable. We ask for your wisdom and discernment to make choices that bring righteousness and justice, that build vibrant and thriving communities in our region. May your kingdom come. May your will be done here on earth, in Timaru, South Canterbury, today and forevermore. Amen.
Thank you very much.
E rerea e aku ai Māori, e ngā ringi atua kia koutou e. Rangi tata ki runga pui ora ki rau, te tau o wata te uki malo e. E rerea e aku ai mi e.
Oh, beautiful lead into 2025. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Okay, let's get kicked into the meeting. Call for apologies. There is none. I'd like to welcome both Gay and Rosie from the respective community boards. Lovely to have you with us. Welcome. No public forum. We go now to urgent business. Is there any urgent business? No. Any matters of a minor nature? Councillor Piddington. We'll just do them.
Was the showgrounds entrance, the intersection?
Oh, the showgrounds, yep. When's the road happening? Yeah. Yep, I've got those: Strathallan Stadium, Theatre Royal, Seabay Camping, showgrounds, entrance. So we'll just deal with those at minor nature. We'll do minor nature, yeah, before we go into PX. Okay, anyone else for minor nature? No? All good. Conflicts of interest in regard to the agenda, Councillor?
Just my little exciting one about audit and risk, what I feel very blessed about. So I will sit out just in case you disagree.
No worries. I know. I'm glad you got excited about that. Alrighty. Nothing further, team? No. Okay, we'll go to agenda item 7.1, which is minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 15th of November. Call for a mover. Thank you, Councillor Burt. Seconder. Yeah, Councillor Pye, thank you. Put the motion now. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of council meeting 10th of December. Call for a mover. Thank you, Councillor Parker. Councillor Jackson. Put the motion now. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Schedules of functions attended by myself, Deputy Mayor and councillors. Thank you for those that attended various functions. Councillor Shannon for the opening, I think, of the athletics. I'll move that from the chair. Seconder, Councillor Jackson. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. 8.2, schedule of functions attended by the Chief Executive. Can I have a move for that? Councillor Parker, thank you. No, good. Team A over here. Councillor Burt, seconder, fantastic. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Not that we're going to have a competitive year at all. Reports now. 9.1, a fixing of the common seal. Any questions in regard to that, or happy to move someone? Councillor Pye. Oh, Councillor Shannon. Oh. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. So we'll slow down, take some time now. Actions register is on page 39. We'll just work through these. I know there was a couple that we questioned. Do like the colour coding system. Fantastic. 60 days, 90 days recommended for completion, which is fantastic. So first one, budget reallocation trial, still ongoing. Questions, comments on that one? Councillor Piddington?
Yeah, look, I'm just concerned the time this is taking. When we look at some of these things, and we're still in January, having brought it up in July, waiting for a formal process to be developed. I mean, this is one of the things that we're hot on, to bring rates under control and overspending, yet we can't seem to get a policy together.
Yeah, you raise a good point, because ultimately this is to have accountability on budget movements from one line item to another. So it would make sense that there is specific process. I don't know if it's policy, but process that we can have confidence in. So when a line item comes to us, it hasn't been moved from one piece of the budget to another, and that it is a saving. And that's probably the key point. So have you got any thinking on that, Mr Chief Executive?
I think it would be incumbent on us on the 18th of February to bring a report on this one to the Commercial and Strategy Committee.
Okay, perfect. Cool, so reports to come to, what date was that?
Is it the 18th of
18th,
February?
I think it is. Yeah,
Yep.
perfect. Yeah, Jess. Okay, great. Moving now to subcontracting across council. I know an update. There's coming to a meeting shortly, isn't it? Reviews currently under. I know there's work with Nicole and Megan going on in here. I'm following that within the office. So I'm okay with that, but I think we probably, from this, need to pick a date that it's going to come through to a meeting as well. 4th of March? Okay, can you record that, please, Jess? Aiming for the 4th of March. Go now to underutilised assets. That's recommended as completed. Questions around that one? Confident. Councillor Scott, thanks.
Sorry, I'm just making sure, because there's a couple that are the same, wasn't it? Yes. So with this one, I just wondered, the last meeting we got that policy brought to us, which was still in draft, and then it was getting finalised and out to targeted consultation. And so I'm just wondering, until that process is finished, I think it should stay on there. So we were going out to targeted consultation and get that feedback, and then I'd like to see it still on here until we have actually followed that through.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. That draft policy is going to the community boards the next meeting, and possibly just to round it off, we own 600 and something properties, and maybe we just do the full list of those and say whether they're underutilised or not. I think there are underutilised assets that are still you can't sell, so that's probably we need to distinguish those from the ones we will sell. I mean, we've seen that with some of the ones that were put up,
Yes.
you know, for stormwater and so forth.
Yeah, because I feel like it hasn't, well, I'm not going to say not a satisfactory process, but it hasn't been a smooth process. So I think until we sort of have that under control and as councillors have a firm understanding of what we own and what we don't, I'd like to see it stay on there, please.
And that's also critically required with our Three Waters, making sure we know what's related to Three Waters and what isn't, to get that right as well.
Councillor Pye.
I was just going to say, don't forget we merged this with another action point, and it's not just about selling assets, it's about making sure we're getting a good return on them. So I would hate to think that the policy is going to hold up any work on the assets that we just want to make sure we're getting a market return on.
Yeah, it isn't, I can assure you of that.
Further on that item? No, cool. So next was template for financial impacts. So last update, no further update. Just want to keep that on, team. Yep, perfect. That's cool. Social housing, work in progress. So from the last meeting, we've got Councillor Bluth, Councillor Scott, myself on a group, and some of us are taking the opportunity to go meet with Upper Hutt CCO when we're in Wellington next. So I think that's fine. There's a process in place there. So is everyone comfortable for that removal? Yep, BAU sort of stuff. Yep. Council-owned properties. Was that the merged one? No, that's yeah. Separate again. Oh, yeah, full list.
This is related to the underutilised assets, so they do go hand in glove.
So, was the full list tabled though? That's my question.
Yeah, look,
It
we
was,
got,
was it?
sorry, Nigel, we got the full list, but it didn't make any sense. It was just dropped. I want to see which group they belong to and whether they're actually needed. I agree, 600 properties, but I couldn't make head nor tail of a list. So, it needs to be...
Yeah, that's why the two are linked.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, cool. So then we go to the grey, which is scratched, which is the Timaru Library report, refurbished back of house, moved down to vertical infrastructure maintenance report. So it's in draft and coming to the 4th of March meeting. Any questions on that one? No. And then the final one is the update on resolution of ECAN rates included for future options. So they've got the new billing model for the 25-26, which breaks down where those sit. It was interesting, I had someone to me the other day in my office saying that they got a 30% rate increase last year, so I think for people to understand where their rate increases are coming from is of benefit for everyone. Yeah, so are we comfortable with that action? I know we talked about, are we all comfortable with that it's going to change on the bills? Okay, cool, so we'll go back to the resolution if there's nothing further on that one. So it's just that the council receives and notes the updates to the actions register. So I'm happy to move that from the chair. Seconder, Councillor Jackson. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So go now to 9.3 on page 49. I can whip through this if you like. I don't think there'll be too much of a question, but it was raised by the independent chair of Audit and Risk, Bruce Robertson, at the last meeting that Councillor Scott has attended every meeting. And although anyone can attend, it just made sense because she's a contributing member that she was an official member, which I fully support. So this paper is just to tidy that up so Councillor Scott can be an additional member. Obviously, Councillor Scott stepped down from this, but is there any thoughts to and fro on this? Councillor Shannon, happy?
Yeah, just to support this really, that if anybody's bothered to watch Audit and Risk online, it's a full day. It's a big day, and the fact that Councillor Scott has come to every single one of those meetings, and it wasn't only a couple of meetings ago we found where there were a lot of people that were out of town and we barely had a quorum. So that assists us with that as well. And Councillor Scott's contribution is consistently excellent, so I would be very happy to move this.
Yep, perfect. And a seconder from Councillor Burt. Any further discussion? No. We'll put the motion now. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Congratulations. First mid to later part of the term appointment. Congratulations. Exciting. No, it's really important, and I think it highlights the contribution that you're making, so thank you for that. Go now to 9.4. Is John here or is... No, so we've got the Stadium Trust annual report. Do we have someone... Oh, is John's online? Oh. Yeah, no, we can do that. That's fine. We'll come back to that one. So we'll go to 9.5, which is the 3-month provincial performance report. And welcome, Ashley. And that is on, where are we? Page 76. Oh, that's right, we'll come back. Missed this opportunity. Welcome, Ashley. Floor is yours, and then I'm sure there'll be some questions.
Thank you. Apologies first, there were a couple of typos on the report. When it was transcribed, we went through one program, we were using one system, changed back to the other. So at point 6, it was a deficit for December, up to December, and point 8, it was meant to be 65.792, not 65, comma. Slight difference there. Yeah. Answering a couple of questions that did come through, we were asked if we could provide a debt ratio projection like we had in the past, and we can absolutely do that again. There was a slight change to the calculation method after our last audit, so it was just a matter of implementing that and getting it to you. Any other questions?
The change to the debt ratio that the auditors have proposed, is that better or worse for us?
Better. Better. It drops the ratio.
Could we know a bit more about what the change was?
It was what you counted as revenue, my understanding.
Yeah, it included something more but took something else out. I can provide that in the next or before.
I guess we're talking about finance and being onto it. We need to know what the changes actually are, not just have a line, there's a change.
100% it will affect our ability to borrow. So don't want to add any extra revenue in there, Councillor Booth, so yeah. Alrighty, further questions? No. Yeah, no. Yeah, you go first, Councillor Whittington, if you, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. I had quite a number of questions on this, which you provided some answers for, and I was thinking to myself last night that I feel like our finances is like a WAS jig, and we've got all the pieces, but we're not actually really sure what the picture is, which is a challenge. And so the answers that I got created more questions, and it just kind of proved to me probably two things. One is we need to get better at timing in our budget, because that appears to be a challenge. And two, our system is woefully inadequate. And so for that reason, I'd like to propose that we pass a resolution to investigate a new system and come back to council at the next meeting with an estimated cost and timeframes, and that will allow us to include the appropriate budget in the annual plan for the 25-26 year, because I feel like it's kind of gone on long enough and we need to fix this and fix it soon. Thanks.
Yep, perfect. I'm certainly comfortable with that. So I'll take that as a moving from you, councillor Pye. So 1 would be the council receives notes, and then 2, your amendment to the resolution. Did you want to make some commentary on that, Mr Chief Executive?
Yeah, so like you, I find the financial system quite frustrating in this organisation. I don't think it's the financial system. I think it's the way we have implemented it in the past and the way we use it, and also the lack of a good reporting tool over the top of it. So those are the things that, and we are also quite a number of versions behind in terms of its latest version. So those are the things we've got to look at. The general ledger itself, I talked to Andrea, and the way it's structured is not conducive to good business. It has all the revenue on one side, the expenses on the other side. To get a P&L for one of our units, it's a major task. They're not just sitting together. You've got to somehow pull them together. And then on top of that, everything is operating out of spreadsheets. And you should be able to get these reports direct out of your ledger and direct with confidence. I also think that we've got a number of costs that sit in the wrong places. So if you look at the corporate area, it's loaded with the bulk of the staff. And that, to me, gives a completely wrong impression to the public. It looks like we've got a whole big corporate structure when actually we don't. It's actually got a whole bunch of the water team in there, the roading team, all sitting in corporate when they actually should be sitting in roading and water, so we can get the right results. Our overhead allocation model is not up to standard anymore, I don't believe. It needs a complete overhaul. And these are crucial bits of work as we head into Three Waters. Not only do we have to do it to make sure you guys are getting all of us are getting the right information, we need it for Three Waters, no matter whether it's in a CCO or in-house, to actually stand up to the Commerce Commission. So there's quite a significant amount of work required in here. Now, I'm constantly amazed at how well we actually perform given the state of people's the reports going out to people. The majority of the managers are holding things tight, but there's a whole bunch of timing issues, a whole bunch of issues that you struggle with, for want of a better word. So we've got to fix it up. We really do need to fix it up. So we're going into the next financial year with a much, much better set of budgets, with timing much better and reporting much better. Now, that's going to be a tall ask because we only have 4 or 5 months to get that done, but we can do it. I don't think we're the only council alone. We're not the only council. I know there's 3 councils north of Christchurch that are all re-implementing a new finance system, so they're struggling with the same thing. But you know, it makes it difficult. I'm used to an entity where the board, which in this case is akin to our councillors, are getting robust monthly information. The other thing we've got to get is real on our capital. I tried valiantly to try and get the timing of our capital right when the LTP. Again, we were far too optimistic in terms of the timing of it. You know, we've got capital items in this year that the planning hadn't even started, and you know you weren't going to achieve it this year. So we've got to get that right as well. And I keep saying to the team, why do we do this to ourselves? We're setting ourselves up to well, more or less fail because we can't deliver it. So we've got to get it right.
I mean, that last point, Nigel, comes down to accountability. You know, the problem is that the organisation's creeping into bad habits of the past whereby, you know, it was okay to roll something over. Actually, they should know how long it takes to plan something, you know, whether it's a water pipe, and allow for contingencies within that timeline. So I think part of it is actually accountability, again, right through the organisation, which we've been saying. So actually be realistic. It's not okay that you get it out of whack by a year. Come on, let's be accountable. Again, I reiterate, if you can't do the job, then let's find someone that can do the job and be accurate, because we can't continue to operate like this. So as far as timing, do you think that's realistic? Yeah, what is realistic?
So Oh, for the system? Depends on how we go about it. If we decide we're going to upgrade what we've got, which is a real potential, then I think you can do it. That will be the quickest way. But if we decide to actually go to a new system, that'll take us longer, probably anything up to 9, 10, 12 months. But we'd have to get onto it real fast because you're going to have to design a chart of accounts. The current chart of accounts is a mystery to me. Well, no, I'll put it this way. We did the trial balance for the audit last year. Then the accounts we produced didn't balance to the trial balance. So being an accountant, I said, "Oh, I'll fix that in no time." So they gave me the trial balance. I didn't understand it.
This is an off-the-shelf situation you're looking at in terms of a new system, and you've just said 3 other councils to the north are doing it. There's obviously a need for collaboration there and an understanding and maybe some economy of scale around it. If we're all rowing in the same direction with the same issues, surely we need to touch base with them and figure what it is. I think in today's, I don't know, I may be very simplistic here, but in today's world with what we're seeing in terms of everything and the evolution of the software and everything that we've got, and AI is about to take over the world, surely we have a system that can be intuitive and understanding and be able to put this stuff in and crunch the numbers appropriately. It has to be there. It's got to be.
I would suggest the numbers going into the ledger are fine. It's actually how the ledger's structured and how you get it back out. So I know a very large entity that's consolidated on one system. It doesn't have a reporting tool, even that system. And that entity is in big trouble financially and is struggling to get information out. So we've just got to make sure we've got one that does the basics right, but also has some smart reporting over the top of it.
And Nigel, you mentioned the upgrades, and after spending 2 years working on the Holidays Act project at the hospital and upgrading payroll systems, what impact if you go with the same system and we look at these upgrades, is that possible to do it in the next 4 or 5 months? Because every upgrade obviously has significant change. So how far behind are we in our upgrades? Are we like 2 or 3 series, or what are we?
I'm going to ask the CIO to talk to that.
Oh, thank you, Justin.
So the current version that we're on, 7.1, which is the last on-prem version that you can get. And so the cloud version, which is called Altitude, is their current version with all the latest bells and whistles. But I totally back Nigel on what he's saying, that we do need to do that general ledger tidy up. So the data, because the system that we've got the data in, the system's okay, but we've really messed up how that's configured. And that's been because we've had that for quite a few years, and when we've patched and updated, we haven't gone back and reconfigured it and tidied it up. And so there's some things that are split out, and so you lose your single source of truth, which is a risk. And so why it's so complex to pull these reports from is that we've got our data split out into lots of different little systems, and it makes it messy and complicated. And whether we go to Altitude and upgrade, or we go to a new system, what we need to do is staff retraining, make sure that you're doing it the best way possible and the most efficient. And then we need to tidy up that ledger and bring it all back into a single source of truth with really robust reporting, so you guys can get the data that you need and managers and staff can get the data that they need.
Be able to just work in the background of the system before you go live. So there must be a way within the system that you can input the data correctly, and then when you push go live on the upgrade, it pulls it all through. It can't.
Yeah, so as Nigel instigated, if we do the upgrade, we can uplift a lot of what we do and a lot of that data straight into that new system. But what we want to do is make sure that configuration's right, like the GL structure, so it's nice and clean, and the accounting team are all happy with how that's structured, and then timesheets and all of that can flow down through, and then coding your costs into the right area automatically. So that's the other big thing about, if you have it in one system, then you're only integrating with that one system, and you don't have to go to different bits and pieces to get a full picture. But yes, it's definitely a more cost-effective way of doing it, is to stick with what we've got, but upgrade to the latest and move to the best practice. whereas it would be quite a lengthy process, I think, to change entirely, not undoable, certainly doable, and more costly because we'd have more to convert. So, but those are things to think about.
I think what we've got to do is, we talked about those North Canterbury ones, get their documentation of what they went through, reread that, but also look at if we went new, what would it require? If we upgraded, what would it require, and bring that back to probably commercial strategy. Let them lead this project when we get to it, and make some recommendations.
Can I just suggest that when you do look at a new system like we did with some of those bigger projects like the theatre, be very clear about exactly what we need rather than trying to get a system that ticks every box, because it's the master of one and you know, the jack of all trades and master of none kind of thing. And then, you know, see what ticks the most boxes and run with that, as opposed, because otherwise you end up with something that's inadequate for the main thing you want it for, just because it might integrate timesheets. Whereas you're probably better to look at something that absolutely nails the financials, and if you have to enter the timesheet, you know, data manually from the timesheet system, that's the price you pay for having something that's excellent in what you want it to do.
And just following on from that, the 70-odd other councils, surely someone's got it right. Surely a ring round will say, we've got a system nailed, or pretty much so. Let's not spend a lot of time reinventing the wheel, you know.
There's 4 main systems used in councils. There's one council in the last, I think it's about 15 years, have had 3 of the 4. So they keep changing. So it's telling you something. And to me, all of them will have their pros and cons, but the secret is getting the implementation really smart. Because it's not just getting the information out the other side, it's also the efficiency of putting the stuff inside it.
We've just had a very good explanation here, and we need to take stock of that in terms of the system that we have to upgrade into Altitude, because it still runs the same systems. People have a reasonably good handle on it.
Yes.
And it's able to achieve that. Let's look at that first before we go off, and as you said, it would be a significant undertaking to go to a new system and not within the parameters of what we're looking at.
That's correct. And to your point, Stu, mentioned about, yeah, I agree. You know, we're all councillors, right? We're all serving our citizens. Surely we should be able to do that a lot better. But what you'll find, and what I've found being a CIO talking to nationally, is that even if you're using the same system as your neighbour, they're normally configured totally different. And then all that, like the GIS system and the document management system, and they're different. And so you've got all these idiosyncrasies amongst councils, and we're notorious for doing it to ourselves. So following best practice and doing, you know, that's what we should be doing. So I agree.
Just another point, moving on from there. My concern is we're $1 million over budget, and this must be, Nigel, user error. There's no budget for the cemetery land, even though we purchased it and we knew it was coming. Why is there no budget for that? We made that decision in 2023. It didn't come as a surprise. 775 over. Same with the Winchester Motor Camp. It's a carry forward, but we haven't carried it forward. So it's another loss. I mean, and again, there'll probably be an excuse, but the other replies we've got to our questions from our finance people. So there's 2 components. The 2 you spoke about are not the P&L, so they're not counted as a loss. Yes, they were approved. The budget was there last year, and those commitments were made last year. So it's the timing of when the cash went out. That's what's reported here. So it was capital expenditure. Yes, we approved the land purchase last year, and we paid the cash this year. So that's the timing. Now, yes, you're right, we probably should have brought the budget forward so there's the cash and the actual budget lined up, and we've learned that lesson. So if you think about last year, there was quite a significant amount of the capital that didn't get delivered, and some of it will never be delivered because it wasn't actually required. But there was 2 or 3 that were committed to
that it should have come forward.
Accept your explanation, but as a councillor reading it, that's what it shows with no explanation in the accounts.
And I think that that's actually the council fine, is actually your explanation. If someone had just written there, the 775 is the property we committed to last year, the budget was last year, we paid the cash this year, you wouldn't then think twice about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
But again, it looks, and other people
Yeah.
looking will see the
Yes.
same number.
So we've got to get much better explaining them to you.
The last one is roading. We had a discussion last time about car parking that I would like to see a paper on to see what we're actually paying for the deck above Kathmandu. But this time it's due to a lease no longer charged and legal issues. Can we have an explanation of what that is? And surely we haven't got a lawyer involved over car parking.
So there's a historic consent for a business that needed car parks, so we leased them their car parks. That requirement is no longer required. So we budgeted for the money, and the money will no longer come because it's not required, because the consenting requirements have changed.
So we've got one, will others follow? Or is this a one-off?
No, I think it's a one-off. There may be one-off.
So why do we need legal cost? We've got an in-house lawyer. Have we put this out to another lawyer?
I can fill you in public excluded on that one.
Righto, that's all right. We'll come back to that one.
It's rather complex.
But the parking paper, just picking up for the actions register, Jess, can you just add that for a follow-up? Thank you. Further questions? Anything on this side of the table? No, all good over here. Councillor Booth.
On page 79 there at the top, you've got year-to-date 24, and then on the other side, you've got year-to-date, same thing, but the numbers are different. Can you just explain that?
This is, sorry to confirm, this is on the financial position sheet, is that correct?
It's whole of council.
So the one on the left-hand side, council performance year-to-date is year to the end of 30th of
December.
The end of December. The one on the right is last financial year. That should.
So it should be year-to-date 2023?
Correct.
Right.
But it's again, it's a spreadsheet, so you'll find that it's all in one cell, and that piece should be relating to the left-hand side, and it should have 30th of December 23 for that year-to-date on the other side. When they say year-to-date 24 there, that's the financial year ending 24, June 24.
Thank you.
So we'll get those headings much, much better.
Okay, so we've got a mover and a second for that. That was Councillor Pye. Another question? Yeah.
I'm just making sure we've got the wording clear on the
No,
resolution.
that's fine. Yeah, I'll get, Jess, do you want to?
Well, I just wondered if I need to change it slightly and say investigate an upgrade or new financial system and come back to council at the next meeting with an estimated cost and timeframes in order for this to be included in the annual plan
Yeah. So
for 2025, 26.
Yeah. So for the March 4th meeting, Nudge? Yep. Perfect. Got that, Jess? Yeah. Okay. Do you need that? Yeah, Jess, sorry, can you?
Yep, so I've got investigate an upgrade of the new financial system and come back to council at the next meeting on the 4th of March.
Right.
I'll just wait till she...
Yeah, 4th of March. We'll just separate them as two separate resolutions. So for that first one, receive a note, if we just put a 1 next to that, and then we'll, and so just start investigate Yeah, so do you want to edit that, Michelle, if you...
So I think it should say an upgrade or new financial system. And to come back to council with estimated costs and timeframes. And then after the 4th of March, I had in order for this amount to be included in the annual plan.
Yeah, so to be included in the 25-26 annual plan.
Oh yeah, sorry, and I had 25-26 annual plan.
Well, it will be, yeah. Yeah.
And
that's-
then, sorry, just going back, it should be upgrade or new financial system.
Yeah,
And get rid of the sorry. Perfect. Thank you.
Just on that, I wondered whether a councillor should volunteer to be part of looking at that, just so it doesn't arrive and we go, that's not what we wanted. Good job for Michelle, I think.
I'm happy to trust the more qualified than me CEO.
no.
It needs to be done by the CE and the CFO and potentially a councillor. It needs to be the highest level because it's an absolute cluster, the whole thing. So action needs to happen now.
The three key people is the CFO, CIO, myself.
Yeah.
The CIO probably knows a lot more than the rest of us.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's cool. Let's get back on track. Comfortable with that. Any further discussion to those resolutions? Councillor Pye moved that. Councillor Birch, happy with those changes? Yeah, brilliant. I'll put the motion now. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Now we're going to go back to 9.4, sorry. And is John there online for a presentation of Arangi Stadium Trust Annual Report? And thanks, Ashley, for that. And that was page 51. Have we got John? Is John online there?
He's not here, I'm able to speak to it.
Yeah, okay. No, I'll get Chief Executive.
So this
to
is
speak to it.
this is the presentation of the annual report for the Aoraki Stadium Trust. This trust is considered a CCO because all the trustees are councillors. Obviously, on page 57 gives you the P&L, which is a little different to previous years because this was the winding up of this entity. So it is surplus of 877. The reason it is of that significance is the reversals of the maintenance provisions, totaling about 1.5 million from memory. And also there was a donation paid across back to the council for ongoing maintenance, and that wasn't a big number. The closing, the winding up of this means that the total assets left at the end of it was 84,000, and that was payables and deferred revenue was the other side of that. So effectively, this is the last report for this trust. Now, there is a requirement in the trustee that on the winding up, any residual funds would go across for charitable purposes. With that donation back for the maintenance services, there was no residual monies left.
Nice and tidy. Any questions in regard to that report? Oh, no, to see John there. Thanks, John, for being in attendance. I don't think we will have any questions. Anything in the room? No? Yeah, Councillor Pye, go for
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm still not convinced about this. And I know you just explained this, Mr. Trainer, but In the Constitution, it says, on winding up, the funds must be donated to an approved charity, approved by the IRD, which TDC is not. And I get what you're saying, it's like we're repaying money that was given to the trust. Is that what I heard?
This trust had a significant liability as deferred maintenance provision. So that money should have been spent on maintenance, and to be quite frank, that's what council pays to the trust, is for it to be maintained. So with the reversal of that provision, the funds came across to offset part of it, only a small part of it.
So my question then is, why is it shown in the accounts as a donation paid?
Because that's the only way they can. I mean,
Yes,
you could call it a maintenance provision going back to council. You could have renamed it if you want.
I just think it is confusing for people
Yeah.
when the
Yeah.
Constitution says one thing and we're showing it as a donation paid, as opposed to what you've called it, which is the reversal of a maintenance provision.
We understand this is an extremely convoluted way in terms of treatment for accounting to make this happen. But you make a very good point around the fact that we've got to get it right. If it says, it's coming through the way it is, it shouldn't be treated as a donation. We need to get that right, because obviously it's going to be subjected to a significant audit. John, you might be able to clarify that.
Well, it's already been subjected to its audit, and its audit was cleared last year, and it was included in the annual accounts for council as such. So it's already been.
Absolutely.
All of those have already been assessed by various auditors, and there I am. Sorry, I was fighting to get into the system. So all of that has been audited both by the Orangi Stadium Trust auditor and has been reviewed by Audit New Zealand, and they all deemed that this was the appropriate way to do it, and that it was acceptable within the terms of how and what was happening with regards to the trust. Just to make a point that the money remitted by the trust to council has been specifically set aside for use only for maintaining and developing the stadium. So it's not gone into general funds. It's been treated as a separate revenue received in advance in the council books, and will sit there and be utilised for the stadium purposes, which is in line with the original AST purpose. Your points are pretty valid, but the auditors all agreed that that was the best way to tidy up which it had become a slightly complicated process. I think everyone acknowledges that, but that was all tidied up for the last financial year. The only thing that's happening this year is we paid the auditor and remitted the last of the funds, but that also was set aside for stadium purposes.
Alrighty, further discussion?
There we are.
Thanks, John. Further discussion, questions? I'm happy to move that from the chair. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Burt. I'll put the motion now. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Cool, so we've done 9.5. 10, there's no urgent business. 11, now we have minor nature items. So I'll go to the first minor nature item, and that was an update in regard to Strathallan Corner. You feel free to speak to it, Councillor Piddington.
Yeah, look, just concerned there seemed to be some difficulty with the RFP. It was issued twice. That concerned people that had to work on it. Where have we landed and what's happening?
Yeah, thank you. So the RFP was issued, and there were some issues, I guess, with the document that was put on the system at the time. And as a result of that, time extension was given for the submissions on the RFP. But that is now finished, and a designer has been appointed, and they are currently working on it. They are meeting pretty tight timeframes that we have required them to do so, and a concept design will come to council on the 18th of February for consideration and hopefully sign off or amendment as they see fit. From there, we'll get the construction underway. We're planning to do that in April and have the job finished by the end of June.
Mr. Dixon, the frustration from the community was the work that was put in initially, and then obviously we realised a scope issue, upgrade, which we've had an explanation from Rosie, and I appreciate that. And yeah, just such a quick win project for our community, and we sort of stumbled a little bit. So it'd be really good to get that process just tidied up so we don't have that going forward. We've got some amazing things happening this year, so let's set our community up for success.
I certainly agree it was frustrating, but at the end of the day, I think we've got a good outcome, and we will achieve the project in the required timeframe and budget. Also, we have got the Tourism New Zealand funding confirmed now.
So just a clarification, you hadn't received any responses before you put out the amendment?
No, we hadn't. No.
The scopes, the tenders had come back in, and then we revised the scope to update the scope. So the work had been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was the correct scope was put out, and then they were asked to given some time frame to extend. There was an option of whether they resubmitted or not, and we confirmed that we would still consider the original submission in order to reduce their costs.
Okay, moving on. Less than perfect process. So moving on to an update on the stadium. And Councillor Puddington, that's just an update on where it's at.
So where we're at is the contractor has completed or completed the geotech work. So they went up there. One of the tags in the original contract was the foundations, and they need to do further geotech work. So that's been done, and they're now progressing on with the design that is going to be costed up. And then once that's costed up, we will present that design to you for comment, and it looks like it will be within budget at this stage. Is there anything further to add, Paul? Yeah.
Was there any problem with the geotech? Any additional costs because of the ground? Because again, these are the sorts of things we want to know because they impact budgets.
We'd have to ask Paul Haggard for the detailed knowledge, Councillor Puddington, but my understanding is they did find some small areas of fill under there that may need addressing. Yeah. I was described to me as about the size of a saloon car sort of thing, not a huge area. There's also some water under there that's coming from somewhere, and that's currently been investigated with cameras and such, so I don't have the full information to give to you at the moment, but it is being investigated.
So at the moment, in the original offer, it was a tag. So this work is to firm that up and get to a price. Now, what I mean is within budget is the QS is looking at it and saying, yes, it's within budget. What the contractor comes back is yet to be finished negotiated.
And just for the interested parties, when are we likely to see a design of the stadium, both interior floor plan? Not so worried about what it looks like outside.
We've got, in terms of a concept design rather than, I think we're quite close. We've got some early renditions that are going to go to the steering group at the next meeting, which I think is on might be the 18th of February, I think, something along those lines. So we'll probably bring something to that group there, and then it will be for wider distribution at the appropriate time once things are finalised.
Just to support that conversation from my fellow councillors, we have actually, myself, Councillor Piddington and Mayor Nigel have actually met the new project manager, Paul, and along with the CE and Paul. So, yeah, it's going to be a good journey. I think the setting up the project steering groups is an excellent move. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to participating in that. And, yeah, I think we've got a good team. So, up and onwards, whatever that's saying.
So I'd suggest that straight after it goes to the steering group will make comment, and if there's any changes, those changes will be made quickly and it'll come straight to the council meeting after that for all of you to see.
Alrighty, next one is theatre update, and just to update that steering group that ended up being Councillor Scott, Councillor Jackson, and was it Councillor Shannon, is that correct? Yeah. Yeah. So the question was just an update on the theatre rule.
So we haven't had a steering group meeting yet. We have gone to the market with a OI for the design. We received 3. The tender evaluation team have recommended 1, which we have signed off, and we are now working on a contract with that particular entity. And once that contract is further developed, the decision will be made whether it's within my delegations or whether it needs to come through to tenders and procurement. But the process went well. We interviewed the potential architects, and I wasn't part of that. They were interviewed, the scoring was completed, and there was a one that scored better than the others. Other than that, once we get that on board, then we can get moving. The first port of call will be the earthworks, and we believe we can do that sooner rather than later. Also, we've been working with the MB on the funding. We've given them a new draft timetable. They're about to put that in front of their, is it the ministers or just the 2 ministers for final approval?
Just one minor update to that, which might be that this month we've procured a couple of specialists to come in and remove some mould and asbestos. It's not a particularly serious problem, but it does require expertise, so that'll be happening this month as well. But other than that, I think that's it.
Where is that? Is that in what part of the building?
Part of our due diligence with this process, South Base had a report that talked about black mould.
Oh, yeah.
And they recommended that breathing apparatus be put on to go into that building. That was unknown to us, and that's the mould that's got to get removed. It's under the floors, growing like mould.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little surprised that the councillors didn't see the scoring and the process of the appointment prior to it happening. It's been a long journey. When the first lot of architects came, they presented to the whole council. So I think we've been shortchanged a little in terms of process. Who else was on the procurement group, just out of interest? See, I don't know any of this.
So the procurement was led by our procurement officer, that's his role. The evaluation team was Paul Haggith, the project manager, Selina, who's our strategic manager for infrastructure, and Matt Sissons was the third one.
I guess my point, it's a massive project, and it would have been, I think, good to go through either tenders and procurements or the council before anyone's appointed. I'm not worried about who was appointed. I just like to see, I guess, a more transparent process for a $24 million project. And my last question is, are the new group confident they can deliver what we want for $20 million?
It's too early to say that, so we've got to get the design. All previous indications are we can. So that'll be a tension that will be in that project all the way through. I'm pretty confident with the designers they've selected that they know the parameters and they'll be working to that.
Further questions on that? But I do agree, I think there's probably some expectation. I think we're probably expecting that come through for tenders, so we just need to make sure we're all on board with the particular process in that regard.
Yeah, well, that was my decision, so that's my...
No, that's fine.
And I'll just explain. I thought through the council resolutions that it was delegated to me, so I ran with that. I've learned from that. So I'll need to get clarification what is delegated.
I guess the point is to that, Nigel, it's the biggest probably vertical build in 50 years in Timaru. And I have confidence in you, but I still think as elected governance, we should have seen the detail around that before it went out. The good news, it's on your shoulders.
Alrighty, any further questions, comments on theatre? No, go now to Caroline Bay Camping. You ask the question and then we'll get the relative answer.
Yeah, there's a good article in the paper this morning on the Caroline Bay Camping. So effectively, the charge of $20 was applied. There were 578 payments, total of $11,560 was received. First year, there was probably some lessons to be learnt. One is with the Caroline Bay Association, who did charge $10. They've confirmed that. However, they have no idea how much that was that they collected. The decision was made not to issue infringement notices, given it was the first year. So that's where it sits. I think, given the number of campers, it was relatively successful.
More successful for the Caroline Bay Association perhaps than us, because I understand they had 5 to 6 times the number in their campground than ours. But look, I'm concerned. We made a clear resolution at the end of last year around that. We're elected councillors, and for some reason it was totally ignored by staff regarding where the camping was. There were tents down there. People have sent me photos, vehicles that clearly were not self-contained. If we make these decisions, I feel the senior managers should be listening to it, not saying, oh, we didn't kind of get the feel of what you meant in the resolution. It's just not good enough. Because instead of 10 grand, we might have been 60 grand better off for Caroline Bay if it had been done correctly.
I'd just like to point out that what we created down there was not a camping ground, and there was no intention of ever camping being allowed in Caroline Bay. What we did is we used a parking bylaw, and it was a parking space. And we had the 2 permanent car parks as the signs went up for that, and the parks were charged the overnight parking there. And there was an intention to offer, I guess, a grassed area within Caroline Bay during the carnival period. Now, that was delegated to myself and the chair of the infrastructure committee, and I thought there was definitely a hiccup in that, and the fact that we missed that step in consulting with the chair. But managed to do that on Christmas Eve, but it was, I apologise for that. That shouldn't have happened. We were sort of running, I guess, to get this thing implemented, to get the revenue in. Now, I understand there was camping down there, but we had no enforcement in the first year. Next year, that'll be totally different, and we will make sure that there is enforcement, but camping is not allowed. It is purely for parking, and it's for self-contained vehicles, as per the resolution. Now, I personally went down there several times during that Christmas period, and I saw caravans down there, but I can't say I saw tents, but they were over the far side apparently, and that was basically the Caroline Bay Association was allowing that. They had no remit to do that. That was totally illegal. And we have made that very clear to the Caroline Bay Association. Again, that won't happen again.
I guess my problem with it, we had the problem the year before, and when you say you're racing, you know, if we had a freedom camping policy, we just do everything on the hoof, and obviously no one spoke to the Caroline Bay Association in detail around what we were doing and what they could do, or else we wouldn't have had the debacle.
The Caroline Bay Association were talked to. I understand that this $10 and allowing camping was done by a volunteer who did not understand the rules.
Yeah, look, and unfortunately the feedback that I've got is, you know, from council staff harassing and all sorts of stuff with campers, but we didn't have any compliance staff down there over that period. It would have been Caroline Bay Association volunteers talking with campers, and so we're getting that feedback. So I think, I know we're having a chat with them, but from a governance point of view, I'll have a catch up with the Sea Bay Association. I might tag one of you guys in as well, just to do that, because I think it's got to be made clear to them that, you know, that's revenue stream that's going to go back into that area. I think also from this, you know, there's a little bit of constructive criticism on social media platforms, but I think we need to, as best can, isolate the costs that are associated with running Caroline Bay, because it's not cheap, and I think the public need to be aware of what that dollar value is, the investments that we have tied up, both infrastructure, play across all that, and actually when it's parks and rec and all those sort of things, what it's costing us. I know Nicole's bringing a paper soon around the renewal of a roof, which is around 250k. Is that the right value? So, you know, it requires constant upgrade. So 11,000, if that was 60,000, puts a dent in that money. And going back, which I will refer to until the next LTP, is that's the mandate. Those that submitted and were part of the long-term plan process, they wanted to see user pays, and that's what we're delivering on. So anything that you know, reduces that rate subsidy, I think is important, and it supports Caroline Bay Association activities, and it supports general rec activities down there on the whole. So I think that's positive that we have started that revenue stream, but we need to work through that. And so maybe I'll pick that up perhaps with Bill and maybe you, Councillor Jackson, if that's all right, and we might pull ourselves along to one of their meetings and just have a chat moving forward. Yeah,
and
Councillor
also
Parker.
the other thing that's happening at Caroline Bay is the sea play will be vested in us this year. So we're going to have to probably bring a paper to council so you understand what the costs that will come with sea play, keeping it maintained and up to standard.
See, yeah, Councillor Parker.
Thank you. I think we need to move forward with, well, Andrew and I talked about the intent of the resolution at on Christmas Eve, how I was quite surprised that this was going ahead the way it was going to ahead. So I think there's definitely time this year to improve the process and the planning, and there's some suggestion about expanding it. So I think that needs to be really thought about in some detail. And my only other comment is that the numbers that you sent through to me on the 14th of January regarding the campers and the income is different to what's reported in the paper today. So I'm not sure how, where that difference has come from.
In simple, different time periods. So what's been reported is right through to the end of January. What I reported was just for that 2-week carnival period. So yeah, but you know, I will say it was very successful. We got in really good revenue, and we're continuing to get revenue in as well. But it is a parking bylaw that has been done, and it's not camping. There is no provision. If we provided a campground down at Caroline Bay, there would have been a lot more requirements, and that was discussed during the meeting. So this was a way of getting some revenue in and through the parking side of things. We can certainly work on improving that.
It's a good lesson in this, Mr Dixon. Listen to your elected members, and we can get other revenue streams for you as well. Let's move through this in a timely fashion. We'll go to Councillor Burt.
I wish it was that easy, because not all of us, you know, have the skills and knowledge in that area, even though some think they do. So in terms of, I want to pick up on a point that you made. So where the camping was, we had no ability to enforce anything in terms of compliance because it was outside any bylaw that which we had. Is that what I'm taking from that?
Your camping is not allowed down at the bay, and yeah, that could have been enforced, but there was no enforcement officers on duty during that period.
In terms of planning for next year, that's obviously going to be a key thing, or this council might decide that we're going to make some provision for some form of camping, and you've just outlined that that'll take some significant planning and some more infrastructure, I presume, to make it achievable.
Yes, that's correct.
Jeez.
And we've got some great local campgrounds where you can camp also. So, and I think they, based on the charge, reported actually higher income revenue over that period. So that's a positive as well for independent business, isn't it? Councillor Booth.
That's a good suggestion. I think we've already got some experienced operators in Timaru, and the idea of actually giving them responsibility to run it but on a pro rata basis or a lease over that period would make a lot of sense, because it'd take a lot of the responsibility and keep it very tidy and run in a commercial manner.
I think you're missing the point. There aren't commercial operations doing that because it's not a campground. If you were going to get commercial, and you get Wilson parking, because it's just parking.
Yeah, we're only offering overnight parking currently. Offering a campground's
And the idea is, we've talked about it before, is that you'd get someone into and define the space in an area such as Te Huanui Park, and someone actually manages over a period of time. I mean, I guess that's, you use an excuse for whatever, but you know, if we've got a goal and define that goal and work towards it and allow it and some make it workable, it makes a lot more sense, I would have thought.
Alrighty, further comments on that one? And then the last one was showgrounds entrance, but that state highway in general. Can you just give us an update, Andrew, and maybe just give some updates on the timings, the likes of, I know Susie's there as well, in regard to the state highway activities, even if we go from Beverley Road through to showgrounds, if you could just update us on what's happening. Susie's going to join you.
Yeah. The key thing here is that it is a state highway, and a lot of the decision making, or all of the decision making, is with NZTA. And council is sort of, I guess, the facilitator in this matter, and we're trying to get the two parties together to reach a solution. So it's challenging there, but progress is being made, as I understand. Paul, do you?
It's it's at a delicate point. It's really a conversation between the developer and NZTA, and there's a variation being sought in terms of getting more time to do modelling, and that is to inform whatever design comes out of that. And the other variation relates to the pile of dirt that's on site. More time to deal with that. If you do want to speak in any more detail, we probably need to be in public excluded, because there are some enforcement things that are active, or it's under investigation at least, so we can't really discuss that in a public forum. That would be my only warning.
Councillor Pinnington, then Councillor Shannon.
Look, the reason I brought it up is people are really frustrated. So it's great to bounce it to NZTA and the developer, but we live in this town and we need to start driving a few things. So them asking for an extension now to count traffic and look after it's been open, 2 years, just is patently ridiculous. We need to get onto these guys and get a resolution. Because someone was telling me the sequencing of the lights had been changed in favour of the developer in the last 6 months to let his people out. And of course, what does that do? That blocks State Highway 1. Surely we can drive a resolution for this. Do we need to get the local MP in? It's just ridiculous.
So late last year, I facilitated a meeting with NZTA, the developer, and ourselves, and I think there was another party. There was a lot of discussion on the size of the new culvert. There was also discussion on how much traffic was flowing through there, and the decision of that meeting was they did have to do more study to work out what was the best solution. And these guys are quite right. While we try and facilitate it, we're actually the facilitator, because we don't have the budgets for State Highway 1, that's NZTA. We also can't enforce we don't have the budget for the actual development either. So we are working hard to get them to come up with a solution.
So when did you meet, Nigel, just out of context?
It was November, and there's been one or two meetings since then. Susie can give more detail on that.
So just before you go, Susie, what sort of time frame do they need to count the traffic? Because it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah, so we're looking at that. We've also had a good session with NZTA in regards to other available data. We're in a big data world now, and there's a lot of available data that could look at the traffic flows through that area for the last few years. So certainly having a look at some options in there. But yeah, there is, we are, facilitator, but also with the regulator hat on as resource consent. That's where, if you want further discussion on that, really. We'll need to go into public excluded for that information. So the time frame is there's a push at the moment to get an extension to get work done and the monitoring done in February. We're also aware that the water main works, the council's water main works is due to start on the 18th of February as well. So we're just working through that process right now.
Yes, sorry, Susie, but how long does it take them to count the traffic? I'm trying to give the public an idea of when something will happen. Did they say we're going to count the traffic for 3 months, a year, 5 years?
The developer's preference to date has been for a 2-day period, so like a Friday and a Saturday. We, as I mentioned earlier, looking at the potential of using more big data, which will actually give the historic information of the travel time through that site. And looking like that might be the preferred, but still working through the consenting process for that.
So again, with the ratepayer in mind that's watching this, culvert aside, data aside, what they're all asking out there is the little bit that's been covered in these horrible orange cones where there's a garden growing through the tarmac. Why can't that be dealt with in isolation? Can we just fix that little bit? Because we've got crews all over the countryside fixing potholes, fixing little bits and pieces. What the ratepayer wants to know is when are they going to do that before all this other stuff?
Got great news for the ratepayers and for you guys around the table, is that is actually protecting our water main at the moment. So as I said, the water crew are starting there, replacing the water main from the 18th of February through that site, and also working alongside NZTA to remove the water main where it's required, because water main is actually moving out to the footpath, and that lane will be reopened. But unfortunately, like I said, it's great news, but also sad news, because there will be more disruption through there while there is more cones in place, Scotty, doing the water main repair work. But they'll be out of there. I think they're planned to be out of there in May. So it's a long stage water main replacement. They do take time.
But that's exactly what they want to know. Thank you very much.
Just to add to that, the intersection itself, though, I can't give you a time frame on, because that is an NZTA decision, and the question is best directed to them.
One of the very small gains out of that meeting I had with them was the road where the fire station, what's that road called?
Bridge Road.
Bridge Road. They put a sign there that you can actually turn at that road to go into the showgrounds. And I don't think that was being utilised, and there's a legitimate way to actually help with the southbound traffic to to actually get in that way.
Yeah, using that Bridge Road intersection as left in, left out to the development will work really well. It'll stop the call time coming through out the development. So basically, you know, if yourselves or residents are travelling into the development from town, feel free to go out the back, use Bridge Road, turn left down State Highway 1 and come through the State Highway 1 traffic lights. But yeah, try and avoid using a right turn because obviously it is quite busy through there and don't want to have any more near misses or crashes in that location.
So we've also been talking about this culvert for about 3 years, and originally the developer was paying for it. Is that still the case? And when is it likely to happen? You must have it scheduled. Someone must have it scheduled. Probably May, just after the other one finishes.
It's a negotiation between NZTA and the developer. So again, that question is best directed to NZTA.
Would you be able to do that, Andrew? Could we actually get NZTA in here to express our frustrations? Because a year ago they came, they made lots of promises, disappeared, and none of it happened.
Yep, we'll take that as an action.
Yeah, look, and I think the developers playing games in here, there's obligations to the community and they just need to meet those obligations, and I think they're trying to, you know, personally I don't think this is regulatory. They just need to own up and do what they promised they'd do, which is get the intersection fixed, and I think that's half the battle. It's actually less NZTA in my view, and the developer needs to do what the promise as part of that development. Councillor Burt.
Just to allay your fears, Councillor Puddington, I've been to Bunnings because for umpteen dozen times over the last 3 weeks because of the stuff we needed for the infrastructure and all that thing for the tournament. And I'm telling you that if you come out, when you're coming out of there, if you're more than 10 cars back, you're on 3 phases to get out of there on the main road. So I learnt that very, very trick, that good trick. I don't go there anymore. I go up Bridge Street, straight down, and you can phase in quickly, and the time that you have to wait if you do is negligible getting through the main road. That doesn't take away from the fact that the whole thing's a fiasco there, and the way it's planned at the moment. I can't believe there hasn't been more accidents, but yeah, the lights haven't been tweaked in any way towards the development, I can tell you that.
The good news, our local MP's Associate Transport Minister, isn't he? Let's get him along to the meeting as well, eh?
And here's a challenge. You can choose to turn left or right. So Mitre 10 or Bunnings. You've got options. Councillor Booth.
The consent, the sharing should never have been allowed to open until it actually fully fulfilled their obligations to the main road and doing their culvert, and that whole lot should have been done prior to the doors opening, and that would have happened. So, and it's their own stupid fault for allowing them to open. So, they need to sort it out, and the road's so bad that people just try and avoid all the potholes, and they don't take off very quickly. And I'm always sending pictures to Susie and she's ringing someone.
Alrighty, do you want to close that one off? Yeah, Susie?
Yeah, if I could just make one small comment about the monitoring and the culvert. It's all interlinked. So the culvert replacement, like for like, is up to NZTA and they will do that work. We'd hate for them to push them to go and just replace that culvert sooner rather than later without the developer agreement to pay for their extension, because the queuing space that's likely required that'll be picked up through the monitoring report perceivedly would show that we need more queuing space for the left-turning traffic coming in at that location. So we'd need the widening of the culvert to happen at the same time as construction. So the monitoring is required. So if we can get those to line up, that would be super helpful.
The culvert size, I would assume it would be the same size as the one that's going under the drive-in, because they've made that quite a bit bigger, haven't they?
I haven't looked at the detail of that design, but yes, I imagine it is sized for at least a 1 in 20-year event.
Perfect. So that's the end of Mine and Nature team. So we'll close it off now. So we need to go to exclusion of the public. We've got 2 lots of minutes to confirm, and item 13.3, which is land purchase on Trafalgar Street. I'll move that from the chair. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Booth. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you to all those online. Appreciate you attending. And we'll just take a 3-minute break while we change over. Thanks. Thanks, Graham. Nice to see you.